11 mysterious archaeological discoveries in Pompeii that science still can't explain. A woman clutched a treasure tightly until her very last breath. A Roman warhorse frozen beneath the ground for nearly 2,000 years. A secret chamber covered in mythological frescoes as if it had stepped out of the ancient world itself. A mysterious skull that may have belonged to the hero who risked his life to save the people of Pompeii. And most terrifying of all, the secrets of this city that still remain completely unexplained to this day. Just imagine this. If an entire city, peacefully going about its daily life, was suddenly swallowed by time in just a few hours, how many untold stories would still be buried beneath the ashes? Welcome back to the Ancient History Channel, where we explore the deepest buried secrets of human civilization. Today we are traveling back in time to Pompeii, the famous ancient city located near Naples in southern Italy, once one of the wealthiest and most prosperous cities of the ancient Roman Empire. But in 79 AD, everything turned into hell. Mount Vesuvius suddenly awoke, unleashing a massive cloud of ash and scorching gas into the sky. In a very short time, the entire city of Pompeii was buried under meters of ash and pumice. Thousands of people who had no chance to escape were left behind forever, trapped beneath the earth along with their homes, belongings, and untold secrets. What is strange is that this very disaster accidentally turned Pompeii into a massive time capsule. For nearly 2,000 years, everything here was almost perfectly preserved beneath layers of ancient ash. And when excavations finally began, humanity was shocked to discover that beneath Pompeii's soil lay not only human remains, but countless strange mysteries beyond imagination. So what have archaeologists discovered in Pompeii over the years? Let's find out together in this video. 11 terrifying and mysterious archaeological discoveries in Pompeii right now. 2,000-year-old skeleton. Found clutching a medical kit when the city was buried. As you know, history is fascinating. There are secrets that once seemed as if they had been buried forever beneath the ashes of time, yet one day they suddenly reappear, leaving the entire archaeological world in shock. And this time, what astonished researchers was not gold, not statues, and not ancient treasure, but a medical kit belonging to a man who died nearly 2,000 years ago. A man who may have been a physician in ancient Rome, someone who carried his profession with him until the very last moments of his life. This strange story was discovered in the ancient city of Pompeii in Italy, a place famous for its time-frozen ruins. Even more remarkably, the man's remains were found in an area known as the Garden of the Fugitives, once a final refuge for many ancient victims. And what makes people even more curious is that beside his skeleton, archaeologists discovered a metal medical box, still containing many intact tools, despite having been buried under volcanic ash for nearly 2 millennia. According to archaeological studies published in recent years, this man was one of 13 victims who died while trying to find shelter. But instead of carrying gold or valuables while fleeing, he chose to bring his medical instruments with him. This led scientists to believe that he may have been a medicus, the Latin term for a physician. At this point, many people might wonder, why in a life-or-death moment did he still hold on to that medical kit so tightly? Was he trying to save others? Or did he simply want to preserve his profession in hopes of starting a new life elsewhere if he survived? These questions are still unanswered by experts at the Archaeological Park of Pompeii. However, Gabriel Zuchtriegel, the director of the Archaeological Park, suggests that the man may have been carrying the tools in order to continue practicing medicine elsewhere. But he also does not rule out the possibility that the physician attempted to help those around him during the chaos. And do you know what makes this discovery even more remarkable? Inside the ancient medical box, archaeologists found small metal instruments believed to have been used for surgical procedures. There was also a slate stone plate, possibly used for grinding or preparing medicinal compounds. Even more astonishingly, the box was secured with a sophisticated gear-like locking mechanism, showing that Roman engineering and medical knowledge were far more advanced than many people would expect. Experts believe this man may have been formally trained in medicine and surgery. In ancient Rome, the profession of physician was both highly respected and deeply feared. Wealthy citizens valued medical care, but they were extremely afraid of surgery, since there were no antibiotics or modern sterilization methods at the time. Even a minor operation could lead to infection and death. In addition, during the Roman era, some Greek-born slaves were trained as medical professionals to serve the elite class. Because of this, the true identity of this man remains a major mystery. Was he a free physician? A doctor serving wealthy nobles? Or simply someone with basic medical knowledge trying to save lives during a disaster? What do you think the answer is? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. The ancient Roman bath system in Pompeii. In many people's imagination, Roman civilization is closely associated with an image of extreme advancement and sophistication. Massive architectural works, advanced aqueduct systems, and luxurious public bathhouses were once considered the pride of the empire. However, few would expect that behind this glamorous appearance lies a reality that can feel unsettling to modern people. You know, more than 2,000 years ago, before Mount Vesuvius erupted, dozens, even hundreds of people would enter a shared pool every day to bathe together. They believed it was a place for relaxation, cleansing the body, and expressing social status. However, the water they immersed themselves in could have been filled with bacteria, sediment, and even toxic metals. This shocking secret was revealed through a study conducted by archaeological experts in Pompeii, the famous ancient city in Italy. In particular, the findings, published on January 12 in the scientific journal PNAS, surprised many people regarding the true sanitary conditions of early Roman bathhouses. The study, led by geoarchaeologist Gül Sürmelihindi from Johannes Gutenberg University in Mainz, Germany, analyzed layers of calcium carbonate deposits found inside an ancient public bath complex in Pompeii. These seemingly insignificant deposits actually preserved traces of the water that Romans used thousands of years ago, and the results left researchers stunned. According to the study, the oldest baths in Pompeii, used between approximately 130 BC and 30 BC, had sanitary conditions that were completely different from what many people might imagine. At that time, the city had not yet developed a fully integrated aqueduct system like it did in later periods. The water supply for these bathhouses mainly came from wells and large storage basins. What is particularly notable is that water transportation largely depended on slaves. As a result, the water supply was limited and could not be refreshed continuously. According to Sürmelihindi, the water in these public baths may have been changed only once per day. At this point, many people might already start to feel uncomfortable, right? Just think about it. Dozens of people soaking in the same pool all day long under the hot climate of ancient southern Italy, while the water was rarely replaced. This means dirt, sweat, and countless bacteria could continuously accumulate in the bathing pools. But that is not even the most disturbing part. There is something even more alarming. Further chemical analysis of the deposits revealed signs of heavy metal contamination in the water. Specifically, lead levels in the bathhouse were abnormally high. This was believed to come from the lead piping system, material that the Romans widely used in ancient times. Today we know that lead is extremely toxic to the human body, especially with long-term exposure. But in ancient Roman times, people were completely unaware of this danger. To them, those metal pipes were simply symbols of modernity and convenience. Interestingly, this discovery has changed how researchers view everyday life in ancient Roman society. For a long time, Roman public baths were seen as a symbol of extraordinary civilization and progress. However, new research from Pompeii suggests that in their early stages, these bathhouses may not have been as clean or safe as previously believed. Even so, experts agree that bathing culture still played a crucial role in Roman life. As the empire expanded and aqueduct systems improved in later periods, sanitary conditions significantly improved. Still, the remains found in Pompeii act like a time capsule, allowing modern humans to glimpse the hidden, darker side of one of the most celebrated civilizations of the ancient world. Both terrifying and fascinating, don't you think? The remains of a prison bakery, where ancient slaves were forced to work until death. Some of history's secrets are not written in ancient books, but buried beneath layers of ash for thousands of years, waiting for the day they are uncovered and reveal the terrifying truth about the ancient world. A powerful example of this was recently discovered in the ancient city of Pompeii, where archaeologists uncovered a site that even experienced researchers found deeply disturbing. It was a dark, suffocating space with almost no trace of freedom, where human beings once lived like forgotten shadows erased from history. This discovery was announced while experts were studying a large area of about 11 acres inside the ancient city. At first, it appeared to be a normal Roman industrial facility, but the deeper they dug, the the more they realized that behind those old stone walls lay a chilling story about the lives of enslaved people more than 2,000 years ago. According to archaeologists, this site was once an ancient bakery, a place that produced food for the city's inhabitants. But behind the seemingly ordinary name was an incredibly harsh system of labor. Slaves and donkeys were forced to work continuously every single day, turning massive stone mills used to grind grain into flour. Just imagine inside an enclosed space with little light, the grinding of stone echoing endlessly for hours on end. Humans and animals were forced to move in circles day after day like living machines. No one knows exactly how long they lived like this, but the traces left in the stone floors tell the entire story. Just these details alone are enough to send a chill down anyone's spine, and it does not end there. During the excavation, researchers also discovered deep circular grooves carved into the ancient flooring. According to experts, these marks were left by donkeys that were forced to walk continuously around the mill for long periods of time. What is even more disturbing is that the animals may have been blindfolded, so they would not realize they were endlessly circling inside a confined space. Just hearing that alone is already suffocating enough, isn't it? But what haunted archaeologists the most was not just the footprints. It was the truth about the people who were once trapped inside this place. According to Gabriel Zutriegel, the director of the Pompeii Archaeological Park, this discovery has revealed a brutal and dark side of Roman slavery. The people working here were almost completely stripped of their freedom. They labored under harsh conditions every day, trapped in confinement and violence, with almost no chance of escaping their fate. Experts believe the owner of this facility deliberately restricted the movement of enslaved workers to prevent them from having any contact with the outside world. This turned the site into a true labor prison, where humans were confined solely for production. But the excavation revealed yet another secret that made the atmosphere even heavier. Inside one of the rooms of this ancient bakery, archaeologists found 3 human skeletons. No one knows exactly who they were. They may have been enslaved workers who labored there, or they may have been individuals who were trapped while trying to escape. But what sends chills down the spine is the fact that their positions suggest they died inside the very place that had held them captive for so long. To this day, experts are still studying the remains to determine the exact cause of death and the connection between these 3 skeletons and the ancient production site. Although no definitive answers have been found, each bone, each small trace left behind, feels like a final fragment of memory from people who once existed, but were forgotten by history. And perhaps the most terrifying truth is not the skeletons themselves, but the fact that for thousands of years, no one ever knew that beneath the ashes, people had died without ever experiencing freedom. Do you think so too? Woman found, clutching her treasure for 2,000 years beneath the ashes of Pompeii. Deep beneath the ancient ruins of Pompeii, Italy, there was a room that had remained completely silent for nearly 2,000 years. No one knew what had once happened inside it, until a recent excavation by archaeologists unexpectedly revealed 2 skeletons lying within a space sealed by ash and ancient debris. You know, the moment the final layer of soil was removed, the research team realized they had not simply found ordinary bones, but the preserved trace of a tragedy buried for millennia. The excavation was led by Gabriel Zutriegel, director of the Pompeii Archaeological Park, along with his colleagues. The discovery site was located in an area known as Regio 9, part of the famous ancient city of Pompeii in southern Italy. And it was in a room called Room 33 that the researchers were confronted with a heartbreaking scene. On a small bed placed against the wall lay the remains of a woman between 35 and 45 years old. What disturbed archaeologists the most was her posture. Her body was curled up in a fetal position, as if in her final moments she had tried to shrink into herself in fear and despair. Not far away, beneath the collapsed stones of a fallen wall, lay the skeleton of a young man, approximately 20 years old. Even just the positions of the 2 bodies were enough for researchers to imagine the chaos that had unfolded inside this room nearly 2 millennia ago. According to experts, this room was initially not yet filled with volcanic pumice. Because of that, it is highly likely that the 2 had rushed inside seeking shelter when the disaster suddenly struck Pompeii. In that moment, they may have believed they had found a safe place to survive. But everything quickly turned into a nightmare. As the neighboring areas were rapidly filled with pumice and ash, Their only escape route disappeared. The two were completely trapped inside the narrow space with no way out. Outside, thick clouds of ash, scorching air, and the sound of collapsing structures filled the city. Inside the small room, two desperate people could only wait for the worst to come. Based on the several inches of ash covering the floor, researchers believe the cause of death may have been a pyroclastic surge, a fast-moving, extremely destructive flow of superheated gas and volcanic material. This surge is thought to have caused the wall to suddenly collapse onto the young man, killing him instantly. But what makes the story even more heartbreaking is that the woman may not have died immediately. Experts believe that after the wall collapsed, she survived for a short time longer. She remained on the small bed in the dark room, quietly waiting for her final moments to arrive. And then, during the excavation, archaeologists made a discovery that left everyone stunned. Surrounding the woman's remains were scattered gold, silver, and bronze coins. In addition, several valuable pieces of jewelry were still found beside her, even after nearly 2,000 years underground. Among the artifacts, the most remarkable were a pair of gold and pearl earrings known as crotalia, a famous type of jewelry in ancient Rome. The name crotalia means clattering, referring to the sound made when the pearls gently struck each other as the wearer moved. Next to her was also a protective amulet pendant, an object that ancient Romans believed could safeguard women during childbirth. From all the evidence found in the room, researchers concluded that the woman may have tried to gather her most valuable possessions in an attempt to escape the disaster. Perhaps in those final chaotic moments, she still believed that if she survived the night, she could start a new life elsewhere. But in the end, the gold, jewelry, and treasures she carried were not enough to save her from fate. A truly heartbreaking discovery. The mysterious chest that contained the strange possessions of an ancient witch. In the world of archaeology, there are discoveries that immediately silence the entire room the moment they are unearthed. Not because of the gold or material value inside them, but because of the overwhelming sense of mystery surrounding the object, as if it is holding a piece of history that modern humans have never truly understood. And that was exactly the feeling experienced by experts when they discovered a strange ancient chest during an excavation in the city of Pompeii. The chest was buried deep beneath the ruins of an ancient house, hidden for nearly 2,000 years underground. No one knew who its owner was. No one knew why it had been concealed so carefully. But the moment the lid was opened, archaeologists realized they had just uncovered a deeply mysterious and almost mystical corner of the ancient Roman world. This remarkable discovery was made by experts from the National Museum of Italy during recent excavations in Pompeii. At first, they assumed it was just an ordinary storage box left behind in the ancient ruins. However, what they found inside shocked researchers. The team uncovered a variety of gemstones, including amethyst and amber, materials that ancient people believed could protect against evil spirits and bring good fortune. There was also a scarab-shaped amulet originating from the Near East, an object commonly associated with ancient religious beliefs and spiritual practices. Inside the chest, they also found a finely carved agate stone depicting a craftsman. And most striking of all was a glass bead necklace featuring the head of Dionysus, the ancient Greek god of wine, celebration, and fertility. Just hearing this already makes it feel like the chest was less of a personal storage box and more like a collection of ritual objects used in ancient mystical practices, doesn't it? And that is exactly what researchers believe. According to experts from the National Museum of Italy, these items were very likely used in ancient spiritual rituals. As a result, many archaeologists suggest that the owner of the chest may have been a woman involved in mysterious religious ceremonies in Roman society. Massimo Ossana, director of the Pompeii Archaeological site, noted that most of the artifacts found inside the chest are closely associated with feminine identity and ritual practices. This has led researchers to believe that the chest once belonged to a woman who played a special role in the spiritual life of that time. What is particularly interesting is that the items inside were not luxurious jewelry meant for wealthy elites. Instead, they were objects tied to symbolism, belief, and ancient ritual practices. And that is exactly what makes this discovery so unusual. Nearly 2,000 years ago in Pompeii, Italy, there may have been people quietly performing rituals that today we only see in myths and legends. They used amulets for protection, gemstones as spiritual tools, and believed that gods could influence human fate. For a long time, many people believed that Roman society was defined mainly by wars, gladiator arenas, and monumental architecture. But this strange chest reveals something different. Beneath the grandeur existed a hidden world of spiritual beliefs that history has rarely fully told. Even today, the true identity of the chest's owner remains a major mystery to archaeologists. Who was this woman? Why did she possess so many spiritual objects? And were these items truly used in ancient mystical rituals? The answers are still unknown. But perhaps it is that very mystery that makes this chest, discovered in Pompeii, one of the most fascinating archaeological finds ever unearthed. Because sometimes, the most frightening thing is not what we can see, but the secrets that have been sleeping for thousands of years, still waiting to be fully understood. Ancient graffiti that recreated a forgotten way of life. If one day the entire internet suddenly disappeared, what do you think would remain to tell future generations how we once lived? Perhaps it would be our status updates, arguments, jokes, or the random sketches we leave behind every day. And what is truly astonishing is that nearly 2,000 years ago, the ancient Romans in the city of Pompeii, Italy, did something very similar. Not on phones, not on social media, but on stone walls across their city. Why do I say this? Because in recent archaeological excavations in Pompeii, experts from the University of Warwick unexpectedly discovered thousands of ancient graffiti still clearly visible on the walls of many buildings. At first, many thought these were just meaningless marks left by time, but the more researchers studied them, the more they realized they were actually reading the real voices of ordinary Roman people. Just imagine nearly 2 millennia ago, on the busy streets of Pompeii, people would stop right in the middle of the road to write their thoughts on the walls. Some wrote to support the politicians they liked. Others used the walls to criticize their opponents, and some simply wanted to leave behind a joke that would make passersby laugh. What does all of this tell us? What is special is that these writings are nothing like the formal historical records we usually read today. They are casual, personal, and at times, they feel just like reading modern social media comments. According to the research team from the University of Warwick, the walls of Pompeii contain all kinds of content. There were election slogans painted to encourage people to vote for certain candidates. There were public accusations and insults, almost like open verbal battles between citizens of the city. There were also humorous poems and witty jokes written in the playful style of the ancient Romans. But what fascinated archaeologists the most were the children's drawings. During the research, they discovered simple sketches of gladiators. These drawings are believed to have been made by children after watching arena battles. Even though they are just rough sketches, they show that children in ancient Rome were curious, idolized heroes, and loved gladiator fights, just like children today. Hearing this, many people might feel surprised, right? Because it turns out that even though we are separated by nearly 2,000 years, humans are still remarkably similar in many ways. According to experts, some graffiti was written quickly by people passing by, but others were carefully crafted, with clear structure and artistic detail. This shows that not all graffiti was just casual scribbling. For many people, it was a way to express themselves publicly. What is even more interesting is that the people who left graffiti in Pompeii came from all walks of life. Wealthy landowners, merchants, farmers, soldiers, laborers, and even freed slaves all contributed their voices to the city's stone walls. Because of this, researchers believe that Pompeii's graffiti is like an ancient version of social media. It allowed people to create messages, share thoughts, and respond to one another in a public space. The only difference is that today we use Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram to express ourselves, while the people of Pompeii used the walls around them to do the same thing. And what is truly remarkable is that for nearly 2,000 years, these writings have survived, as if the ancient people were sending messages directly to the modern world. So this discovery not only helps archaeologists better understand daily life in ancient Rome, but also reminds us that history is not only written by emperors and wars. Sometimes, the most honest record of a civilization is a simple joke on a wall, a child's drawing, or a quick message written by an ordinary person nearly 2 millennia ago. And perhaps that is exactly what makes Pompeii so extraordinary. 2,000-year-old royal chariot reveals the luxurious secrets of the ancient Roman Empire. Some discoveries in archaeology don't just astonish researchers, they make history feel as if it is coming back to life right before our eyes. And that is exactly what happened when archaeologists uncovered an ancient Roman chariot that had remained nearly intact for almost 2,000 years beneath the ground. The moment the final layers of ash and volcanic debris were carefully removed, a strange and breathtaking scene slowly emerged under the excavation lights. Ancient wheels covered in centuries of dust, metal components still attached to the frame, intricate decorative patterns that had survived remarkably well despite the passage of millennia. For a few seconds, the experts stood in silence, because what lay before them was not an ordinary vehicle used by everyday Romans. It was a luxurious ceremonial chariot that once belonged to the Roman aristocracy. This extraordinary discovery was made during an emergency rescue excavation in Pompeii, carried out by archaeologists from the Pompeii Archaeological Park in collaboration with the Public Prosecutor's Office of Torre Annunziata. What makes the story even more dramatic is the situation in which it was found. Authorities had discovered that ancient artifact thieves had been secretly digging tunnels underground, attempting to loot buried treasures from the ancient city. If the excavation had been delayed even slightly, this rare chariot could have been destroyed or lost forever on the international black market. Because of this, the research team was effectively racing against time. They dug approximately 20 feet through layers of ash and ancient volcanic material. And then, inside a two-level arched structure, they uncovered an ancient Roman ceremonial chariot known as a palentum, an extremely rare vehicle used in grand ceremonies of the Roman elite. What shocked the world the most was its incredible state of preservation. All four wheels still retained their original structure. Several iron components remained intact. There were also finely crafted decorations made of bronze and tin. Archaeologists even found mineralized wooden parts, along with traces of reins and floral ornaments that once adorned the chariot. Just imagining it is enough to understand how luxurious it must have been, right? But what surprised researchers even more was what they found around the chariot. Nearby, they discovered the remains of an ancient stable along with the skeletons of 3 Roman horses. One of them still bore traces of a harness on its body. This detail suggests that the chariot was likely used in important ceremonies involving specially trained horses. According to archaeologists, this was not a vehicle used for transporting goods or everyday travel. Its design was far too elaborate and luxurious. Therefore, it is highly likely that it was used in major festivals, religious ceremonies, or grand parades of the Roman aristocracy. Another intriguing theory is that the chariot may have been used in ancient Roman wedding ceremonies. Some experts suggest it could have been the vehicle that escorted a bride to her new home, a highly significant ritual in ancient marriage traditions. Of course, this is still only a hypothesis. The true purpose of the chariot remains unknown. So what do you think it was used for? If you have an idea, feel free to leave a comment below and share your thoughts with everyone. The slave's small room. Among the luxurious marble statues, grand halls paved with polished stone, and endless lavish banquets in Roman villas, there remained a silent, dark reality: the lives of enslaved people. And recently, a groundbreaking archaeological discovery near Pompeii has shed new light on that hidden and deeply unsettling world. At the Civita Juliana Villa, located about 650 yards north of the ruins of Pompeii, an area completely wiped out by the catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius nearly 2,000 years ago, archaeologists uncovered a small room once used by enslaved people. This discovery offers a vivid and emotional glimpse into the lives of the lowest class in ancient Roman society. The room itself was far from luxurious. In fact, it was so simple that it leaves a deep silence in the imagination when trying to picture the people who once lived there. Inside, researchers found 2 wooden beds, only one of which had a mattress, a small but telling detail that reveals even inequality existed among servants themselves. The room also contained 2 small cabinets, a few ceramic jars, and various everyday objects, showing that this was not only a place for sleeping but also for living and storing essential belongings, all within a cramped, dark, and damp space. One of the most haunting discoveries was the presence of rodent bones inside the room, clear evidence of the poor sanitary conditions the enslaved people endured, even within the household of an elite Roman villa. Even more striking, archaeologists found the impression of a crumpled blanket still preserved on the surface of a bed frame. What was once soft fabric is now only a faint trace, preserved for nearly 2 millennia by volcanic ash and heat from Vesuvius. Gabriel Zuchtriegel, director of the Pompeii Archaeological Park, described it by saying, It looks like a photograph, but this is an image from nearly 2,000 years ago. A moment of everyday life, seemingly swallowed by time, has reappeared with striking emotional clarity. What makes this room particularly unusual is the absence of chains, locks, or restraints, items commonly associated with controlling enslaved people in the ancient world. This has led researchers to believe that supervision and discipline did not always rely on physical confinement. Instead, it may have been enforced through an internal hierarchy among the enslaved themselves, where individuals monitored and controlled one another, creating a self-regulating system within an oppressed group. The feeling of being watched, judged, and controlled by fellow sufferers made freedom feel like something almost unimaginable. This discovery once again highlights that although Pompeii is often seen as a symbol of Roman wealth, sophistication, and cultural achievement, behind its glamorous surface lay a reality marked by inequality, social hierarchy, and exploitation. The enslaved people lived their entire lives confined to just a few square meters, silently serving the luxury of their masters. They left no names in history books and no statues in their honor. But their legacy survives in the smallest traces: wooden beds, worn blankets, and everyday objects preserved in ash. Pompeii, buried for thousands of years beneath volcanic ash, continues to tell its stories. These are not only stories of temples, frescoes, or Roman gods, but also of ordinary people living under the harshness of fate, lying awake in dark rooms, listening to the distant sounds of their master's world of luxury. They had no choice in how they lived, yet the traces they left behind, even something as simple as a thin blanket, are enough to make the modern world pause and reflect. The mysterious Black Room with Trojan myth frescoes that astonish the world. Hidden deep within the ancient ruins of Pompeii, there is a room that, the moment archaeological lights illuminated it, made experts feel as if they had stepped directly into the world of ancient Greek mythology. Dark, mysterious black walls, nearly perfectly preserved mythological paintings, and an eerie atmosphere that makes the space feel like an ancient stage frozen in time for almost 2,000 years. Archaeologists have given it a mysterious name: the Black Room. This remarkable discovery was made during ongoing excavations at the Pompeii Archaeological Park, one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world. The room is located inside a private ancient villa on Via di Nola, one of the longest streets in ancient Pompeii. From the moment the soil and debris were removed, experts were stunned by the beauty of this large banquet hall. The walls were painted in deep black and covered with stunning frescoes depicting famous figures from mythology connected to the Trojan War. One of the most striking frescoes shows the meeting between Helen and Paris, the Trojan prince and son of King Priam. Interestingly, the painting also includes a Greek inscription naming him Alexandros, another name for Paris in mythology. According to ancient Greek legend, Paris's abduction of Helen from Sparta enraged her husband Menelaus, sparking the famous Trojan War around the 12th century BC. But that was not the most haunting painting in the room. Another fresco depicts the god Apollo attempting to pursue Cassandra, the daughter of King Priam. In the painting, Cassandra appears deeply sorrowful and distant. According to Greek mythology, Apollo promised Cassandra the gift of prophecy if she accepted his love. Cassandra agreed, but later rejected him. Enraged, Apollo placed a cruel curse upon her. She would always be able to see the future, but no one would ever believe her words. Because of this curse, she was forced to witness the fall of Troy, powerless to stop it despite foreseeing the disaster. Just hearing this is enough to feel how deeply the mythological atmosphere fills this room, isn't it? But the discoveries did not stop there. Archaeologists also found another fresco depicting Leda, the mother of Helen of Troy, embracing a white swan. Dr. Andrew Sillett from the University of Oxford explained that the swan is actually Zeus, the ruler of Mount Olympus in Greek mythology. According to legend, Zeus disguised himself as a swan to approach and seduce Leda. She later gave birth to an egg, which hatched into the famous twins Castor and Polydeuces. Dr. Sillett described these frescoes as truly extraordinary, noting that they were likely completed shortly before Pompeii was buried in 79 AD. According to Gabriel Zuchtriegel, director of the Pompeii Archaeological Park, the Black Room was designed as a luxurious banquet space for the Roman elite. The mythological images were not just decoration, they were conversation pieces during evening gatherings. He explained that at night, flickering oil lamps would make the painted figures appear almost alive, especially after a few glasses of famous Campanian wine from ancient Italy. Just imagine the scene. A room about 50 feet long and 20 feet wide, mysterious black walls reflecting the faint glow of oil lamps. Distinguished guests dining and discussing Trojan mythology in a space that feels like a dream from the ancient world. What is truly astonishing is that the floor of the room was intricately mosaicked with more than 1 million tiny white tiles arranged into complex geometric patterns. Meanwhile, near the staircase, researchers also discovered charcoal drawings depicting gladiators as well as a strange stylized figure. Pompeii, Italy, was buried for nearly 1,700 years before being rediscovered in 1748. And even today, every excavation seems to open another doorway into the ancient Roman world. And the Black Room, with its Trojan myth frescoes, is perhaps one of the most mysterious of them all, a place where history, art, and mythology blend together in the darkness of a city that slept for nearly 2 millennia. The mysterious missing skull of Pompeii's hero. Did you know that among the thousands of skeletons discovered in the ruins of Pompeii, there is one skull that has sparked debate among archaeologists for more than a century? Many believe it may belong to a legendary figure of ancient Rome, a man who did not flee from disaster but instead rushed into it to save others. That man is Pliny the Elder, the famous historian and Roman naval commander, often referred to as the hero of Pompeii. However, what makes the story strange is that for nearly 2,000 years, no one knew exactly where his remains were located. Now, a skull preserved in a museum in Italy has suddenly drawn intense attention from researchers, as it may be the long-lost remains of this legendary commander. According to historical records written by Pliny the Younger, the nephew of Pliny the Elder, the Roman naval commander was stationed with the Roman fleet in the Bay of Naples in southern Italy at the time. When news of the disaster reached him, he immediately ordered his ships to sail toward the danger zone to help evacuate civilians. This was not a required mission. It was not an act of self-preservation. He chose to turn toward death itself in order to save others. But in the end, Pliny the Elder was unable to escape the catastrophic eruption. He died along with thousands of Pompeii's residents in 79 AD, and for nearly 2 millennia after that, the true location of his remains remained one of archaeology's great mysteries, until the year 1900. During an excavation in the ancient city of Pompeii, researchers discovered around 70 skeletons scattered across a devastated area. Among them, one set of remains immediately drew special attention. This skeleton was found alongside valuable items such as gold bracelets, necklaces, and rings. Because of this, Italian engineer Gennaro Matrone, the leader of the excavation, believed that these could be the remains of Pliny the Elder. In his view, Pliny's high rank in the Roman military and his historical importance could explain the presence of such valuable jewelry near the skeleton. At first glance, the theory seems reasonable, doesn't it? But then the debate began. Other archaeologists, including Giuseppe Cosenza, strongly opposed this idea. They argued that Pliny the Elder was a serious and disciplined Roman naval commander, and there was no reason for him to be buried with such extravagant jewelry. This disagreement left the identity of the skeleton deeply uncertain. Was it truly the remains of Pompeii's hero? Or was it simply another wealthy individual mistakenly linked to him for over a century? Because of this ongoing controversy, Italian researchers have recently planned isotope testing on the skull preserved in the museum in order to determine its true age and origin. If the results confirm that the skull does belong to Pliny the Elder, it would become one of the most significant archaeological discoveries related to Pompeii in recent years. After nearly 2,000 years, humanity may finally rediscover the remains of a man who risked everything by entering a disaster zone to save innocent lives, a truly heroic act. But until the results are confirmed, all we can do is wait. Roman warhorse. Frozen for 2,000 years. Some archaeological discoveries make it feel as if history never truly died. It is simply lying silent somewhere underground, waiting to be uncovered. And in the ancient city of Pompeii, Italy, archaeologists have touched exactly that kind of moment. Not a golden statue, not a treasure chest, but the remains of an ancient Roman warhorse, a creature that once galloped through the glory days of the Roman Empire, now reappearing after nearly 2,000 years buried beneath thick volcanic ash. What makes this discovery even more unusual is how it began. It started with illegal, dark tunnels dug by tomb raiders beneath Pompeii. While searching for valuable artifacts to sell, these treasure hunters accidentally revealed an unusual empty space in the Civita Giuliana area, north of Pompeii, Italy. And that very place led archaeologists to a discovery that stunned the entire research community. As layers of soil and debris were carefully removed, the skeleton of an ancient horse slowly emerged under the excavation lights. According to archaeologists, the remains were found inside a stable located next to an ancient villa in Civita Giuliana. What immediately caught their attention was the size and structure of the animal. It was significantly larger than the typical working horses of Roman times. Because of this, researchers believe it may have been a war horse used in military parades or belonging to a wealthy Roman aristocrat. In ancient Roman society, war horses were not just means of transportation. They symbolized power, authority, and social status. The finest horses were reserved for military commanders and high-ranking elites. What is truly remarkable is that even after nearly 2,000 years, many details of the skeleton were still preserved thanks to the thick layer of volcanic ash that covered the entire area. But the discovery did not stop there. Right next to the horse's remains, archaeologists also found the skeleton of a man aged approximately 40 to 50 years old. He is believed to have died during the catastrophic eruption of 79 AD. Was this man the owner of the horse, or was he the caretaker of the war horse in the final days of Pompeii? No one knows for sure, but the image of the two remains lying side by side gives the haunting impression that they may have shared their final moments together in what was once an ancient stable. According to archaeologists, this is just one of roughly 2,000 victims believed to have been buried in Pompeii in 79 AD. Over the years, continuous excavations have uncovered more skeletons and remarkably preserved traces of daily life in ancient Roman society. Thanks to these discoveries, scientists are gradually able to reconstruct what life was truly like for the people of Pompeii before the city disappeared from the ancient world. How they lived in their homes, what they ate every day, what diseases they suffered from, and even how they struggled to survive in their final terrifying moments. Today, researchers continue to study and restore the remains of both the horse and the man found in Civita Giuliana, Pompeii, hoping these traces will help unlock even more secrets of ancient Roman society. But perhaps the most haunting part of this discovery is the feeling that, beneath all that volcanic ash, time never truly moved on. The war horse is still there, the man is still there, and an entire ancient Roman world still sleeps beneath the ground of Pompeii, waiting for modern humanity to slowly awaken the stories that history forgot for nearly 2,000 years. Dear friends, what we have just seen is only a very small part of the thousands of mysteries still lying silently beneath the ground of Pompeii, Italy. Each discovery is like a scattered puzzle piece, but when they are put together, they reveal a strange and fascinating picture of life, death, and the final moments of an ancient civilization. And the most terrifying part is that there may still be countless untouched secrets waiting to be awakened. So what about you? What do you think is the most haunting discovery we explored today? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of the next incredible discoveries from the Ancient History channel. And for now, goodbye, and see you next time.